Section 6 of Weird Tales, Jules de Grandin, Volume 2, by Seabury Quinn. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Ancient Fires, Part 2. By mutual consent we decided to withhold certain details of the gypsy's death from the coroner's jury next day, and a verdict to the effect that the miscreant had come to his death while attempting to break and enter the dwelling house of one John Aglenbury in the night time, forcibly, feloniously, and against the form of the statute in such case made and provided, was duly returned. The gypsy was buried in the potter's field, and we returned to our vigil in the haunted house. Aglenbury was almost offensively incredulous concerning the manner of the gypsy's death. "Nonsense!" he exclaimed, when we insisted we had seen a mysterious, faintly luminous face at the window before the would-be housebreaker hurtled to his death. "You fellers are so fed up on ghost lore that you've let this place's reputation make you see things which aren't there." Monsieur de Grandin assured him with injured dignity, "It is that you speak out of the conceit of boundless ignorance. When you have seen half, pardieu, 1/4 or 1/8 of the things I have seen, you will learn not to sneer at whatever you fail to understand. As that so magnificent Monsieur Shakespeare did say, there are more things in heaven and earth than are dreamt of in your philosophy." "Probably," our host interrupted, smothering a yawn, "but I am content to let him stay there. Meantime, I'm going to bed. Good night." And up the stairs he marched, leaving us to share the warmth of the crackling pitch-pine fire. De Grandin shook his head pityingly after the retreating youngster. "He is the perfect type of that Monsieur Babbitt," he confided, "worldly, materialistic, entirely devoid of imagination. Parbleu, we have them in France too. Did they not make mock of Pasteur Legrand when he announced his discoveries to a sceptical world? Most assuredly. Like the poor, the materialists we have always with us. Ha! What is that? Do you hear it, Trowbridge, my friend?" Faintly, so faintly it was like the half-echo of an echo. The fine, musical jangle of tiny bells wafted to us through the still, cold air of the dark old house. "In there, 'twas in the library it sounded," the Frenchman insisted in an excited whisper as he leaped to his feet and strode across the hall. "Your light, friend Trowbridge! Quick, your light!" I threw the beam of my electric torch about the high-walled, sombre old reading-room, but nothing more ghostly than the tall walnut bookcases, empty of books and laden only with dust these many years, met our eyes. Still the soft, alluring chime sounded somewhere in the shadows, vague and indefinite as the cobwebbed darkness about us, but insistent as a trumpet call heard across uncounted miles of night. "Morbleu, but this is strange," de Grandin asserted, circling the room with quick, nervous steps. Trowbridge, my friend! As we live, those bells are calling us, Cordu! There they are!" He halted before a carved panel under one of the old bookcases, and was on his hands and knees examining each figure of the conventionalized flowers and fruits which adorned its surface. With quick questing fingers he felt the carvings like a cracksman feeling out the combination of a safe. "Nom d'un fromage, I have it!" he called in lilting triumph as he bore suddenly down upon a bunch of carved grapes, and the panel swung suddenly inward upon invisible hinges. "Trowbridge, mon ami, regardez-vous!" Peering into the shallow opening left by the heavy carved plank, we beheld a package carefully wrapped in linen, dust-covered and yellowed with age. "Candles, if you please, friend Trowbridge," de Grandin commanded, as he bore our find in triumph to the hall. "We shall see what secret of the years these bells have led us to." He sank into his armchair and began unwinding the linen bands. "Ah, and what is this?" He unreeled the last of the bandages and displayed a small roll of red morocco leather, a compact little case such as an elder generation of men carried with them for supplying needles. buttons, thread, and other aids to the womanless traveller. Inside the wallet was a length of tough, age-tanned parchment, and attached to it by a loop of silk was a single tiny hawkbill of gold, scarcely larger than a bead, but capable of giving off a clear, penetrating tinkle as the parchment shook in de Grandin's impatient hands. I looked over his shoulder in fascinated interest, but drew back with disappointment as I saw the vellum was covered with closely written scrawls, somewhat resembling shorthand. De Grandin regarded the writing a moment, then tapped his even white teeth with a meditative forefinger. "This will require much study, friend Trowbridge," he murmured. "Many languages have I studied, and my brain is like a room where many people speak together. Out of the babel I can distinguish but few words unless I bear my attention on some one talk. This," he tapped the crinkling parchment, "is Hindustani, if I mistake not, but to translate it will require more time than these candles will burn. Nevertheless, we shall try." He hurried to our bedroom, returning in a moment with a pad of paper and a fresh supply of candles. "I shall work here for a time," he announced, reseating himself before the fire. "It will be long before I am prepared for bed, and it may be well for you to seek repose. I shall make but poor company these next few hours." I accepted the dismissal with an answering grin, and, taking my candle, mounted the stairs to bed. "Eh bien, my friend, you do sleep like the dead, the righteous dead who have no fear of purgatory." De Grandin's voice roused me the following morning. The bright spring sunshine was beating into our chamber through the open casement, and a puff of keen breeze fluttered the trailing bedclothes, but my friend's face rivalled the brilliance of the breaking day. "Triomphe!" he exclaimed, brandishing a sheaf of papers above his blond head. "It is finished, it is complete, it is done altogether entirely. Attend me, my friend, listen with care, for you are not like to hear such a tale soon again. Lord of my life and master of my heart, this day is the fulfillment of the fate overhanging the wretched woman who has unworthily been honoured by your regard, for this night I was bidden by my father to choose whether I would be married by the priest to the god Kandoka, and become a temple bayadir, and my lord well knows what the life of such a one is, or go to the shrine of Okmar, god of destruction, to become Kurban. I have chosen to make the leap, my lord, for there is no other way for Amari. We have sinned, thou against thy people and I against mine, in that we did dare defy Varna and love, when such a love is forbidden between the races. Varna forbids it, the commands of thy people and mine forbid it, and yet we loved. Now our brief dream of Kailas is broken as the mists of morning break and fly before the scarlet lances of the sun, and thou returnest to thy people. Amari goes to her fate. By the leap, I assure my sinful spirit a resting place in Kailas, for to the Kurban all sins are forgiven, even unto that of taking the life of a Brahmin, or giving herself in love to one of another race. But she who retreats from the leap commits a sin with each step, so great that 1,000 reincarnations cannot atone for it. In this life the walls of Varna stand between us, but perchance there may come a life when Amari inhabits the body of a woman of the Sahi's race, or my lord and master may be clothed in the flesh of one of Amari's people. These things it is not given Amari to know, but this she knows full well. Throughout the 7 cycles of time which shall endure through all the world, and through all eternity, when worlds and the gods themselves shall have shuddered into dust, Amari's heart is ever and always inclined to the Sahib, and the walls of death or the force of life shall not keep her from him. Farewell, master of Amari's breath. Perchance we shall meet again upon some other star, and our waking spirits may remember the dream of this unhappy life. But ever and always Amari loves thee, Sahib John. "Yes?" I asked as he finished reading. "And then?" "Parbleu, my friend, there was no then," he answered. "Listen. You do not know India. I do. In that so depraved country they do consider that the woman who goes to the bloody shrine of the god Omkar and hurls herself down from a cliff upon his bloody altar attains to sainthood. It was that which this poor one meant when she did speak of the leap in her farewell note to her white lover. Kurban is the word in their so detestable language for human sacrifice, and when she speaks of attaining Kailas, she refers to their heathenish word for heaven. When she says Varna stood between them, she did mean caste. Cordieu, you English, you Americans, always you drive yourselves crazy with thoughts of what should and what should not be done. Nom d'un quoi? Why did not this Monsieur Aglenbury the elder take this Hindu woman to wife, if he loved her, and thumb his nose at her brown-skinned relatives and his fair-eyed English kin as well? 'Tis what a Frenchman would have done in like case. But no, he must needs allow the woman he loved to hurl herself over a cliff for the edification of a crowd of monkey-faced heathen who are undoubtedly stewing in hell at this moment, while he ran overseas to America and built him a mansion in the wilderness. A mansion, pardieu! A mansion without the light of love in its rooms or the footfalls of little children on its floors. Nom de Dieu, de nom de Dieu! A mansion of melancholy memories it is. Abbas, such people! They deserve la prohibition, nothing better." He walked back and forth across the room in a fury of disgust, snapping his fingers and scowling ferociously. "All right," I agreed, laughing in spite of myself. "We'll grant all you say. But where does that get us as regards Red Gables? If the ghost of this Hindu girl haunts this house, how are we going to lay it?" "How should I know?" he returned peevishly. "If the ancient fires of this dead woman's love burn on the cold hearth of this sacred house, who am I to put them out? Oh, it is too pitiful, that such a love as theirs should have been sacrificed on the altar of Varna, caste." "Halloo, halloo up there!" came a cheery hail from the hall down below. "You chaps up yet? Breakfast is ready, and we've got callers. Come down." "Breakfast!" de Grandin snorted disgustedly. "He talks of breakfast in a house where the ghost of murdered love dwells. But," he returned an impish grin on me, "I hope he has compounded some of those so delicious flapjacks for us, even so. Dr. de Grandin, this is Dr. Wiltshire," Aglenbury introduced as we descended to the hall. "Dr. Crowbridge, Dr. Wiltshire. Wiltshire is superintendent of a sanitarium for the feeble-minded over there." He waved his arm in a vague gesture, and when he heard Dr. de Grandin was in the neighborhood, he came over for a consultation. It seems— Oh, you tell him your troubles, Wiltshire." Dr. Wiltshire was a pleasant-looking young man with a slightly bald head and large-lensed, horn-rimmed spectacles. He smiled agreeably as he hastened to comply with Aglenbury's suggestion. "Fact is, doctor," he began as de Grandin piled his plate high with flapjacks, "we've got a damned peculiar case over at Thornwood. It is a young girl who's been in our charge for the past 12 years, ever since she was 10 years old. The poor child suffered a terrible fright when she was about 6, according to the history we have of her case. Horses of the carriage in which she and her mother were riding ran away, threw 'em both out, killed the mother, and, well, when they picked the youngster up, she was just one of God's little ones. No more reason than a 2-months-old baby. Her family's rich enough, but she has no near relatives, so she's been in our care at Thornwood, as I said, for the past 12 years. She's always been good as gold, scarcely any trouble at all, sitting on the bed or the floor and playing with her fingers or toes like an infant, most of the time. But lately she's been acting up like the devil. Fact. Tried to brain the nurse with a cup 3 nights ago, and made a break at one of the matrons yesterday morning. From a simple, sweet-tempered little idiot, she's turned into a regular hell-cat. Now, if she'd been suffering from ordinary dementia, I'd—" very good, my friend," de Grandin replied, as he handed his plate to Aglenbury for further replenishment. "I shall be delighted to look at your patient this morning. Parbleu! A madhouse will be a pleasant contrast to this never-enough-to-be-execrated place." "He likes my house," Aglenbury commented to Dr. Wiltshire, with a sardonic grin as we rose and prepared to go to the sanitarium. Thornwood Sanitarium was a beautiful, remodelled private country home, and differed in no wise from the near-by estates except that the park about the house was enclosed in a high stone wall topped with a chevaux de frise of barbed wire. "How's Marianne? Miss Underwood?" Wiltshire asked as we entered the spacious central hall and paused at the door of the executive office. "Worse, doctor," replied the competent-looking young woman in nurse's uniform at the desk. "I've sent Mattingly up to her twice this morning, but the dosage has to be increased each time, and the medicine doesn't seem to hold as well." Wiltshire muttered noncommittally, then turned to us with an anxious look. "Will you come to see the patient, gentlemen? You too, Aglenbury, if you wish. I imagine this will be a new experience for you." Upstairs we peered through the small aperture in the door barring the demented girl's room. If we had not been warned of her condition, I might easily have taken the young woman asleep on the neat, white cot for a person in perfect health. There was neither the emaciation nor the obesity commonly seen in cases of dementia, no drawing of the face, not even a flaccidity of the mouth as the girl lay asleep. Her abundant dark hair had been clipped short as a discouragement to the vermin which seem naturally to gravitate to the insane in spite of their keeper's greatest care, and she was clothed in a simple muslin night-dress, cut modestly at the neck and without sleeves. One cheek, pale from confinement, but otherwise flawless, lay pillowed on her bent arm, and it seemed to me the poor girl smiled in her sleep with the wistfulness of a tired and not entirely happy child. Long, curling lashes fringed the ivory lids which veiled her eyes, and the curving brows above them were as delicately pencilled and sharply defined as though drawn on her white skin with a camel's hair brush. "Le pauvre enfant!" de Grandin murmured compassionately, and at the sound of his voice the girl awoke. Gone instantly was the reposeful beauty from her face. Her lips stretched into a square, like the mouth of one of those old Greek tragic masks. Her large brown eyes glared fiercely, and from her gaping red mouth issued such a torrent of abuse as might have brought a blush to the face of the foulest fishwife in Billingsgate. Wiltshire's face showed a dull flush as he turned to us. "I'm dashed if I can understand it," he admitted. "She goes on this way for hours on end, now." "Eh, is it so?" de Grandin responded. "And what, may I ask, have you been doing for this condition? It appears more like delirium than like dementia, my friend." "Well, we've been administering small doses of brandy and strychnine, but they don't seem to have the desired effect, and the doses have to be increased constantly." "Ah!" De Grandin's smile was slightly satirical. "And has it never occurred to you to employ hypnotics?" "Hyoscine, by example?" "By George, it didn't," Wiltshire confessed. "Of course hyoscine would act as a cerebral sedative, but we'd never thought of using it." "Very well. I suggest you employ your hypodermic injection of hydrogen hypobromide." De Grandin dismissed the case with an indifferent shrug of his shoulders, but Aglenbury, moved by that curiosity which is akin to fascination felt by the normal person regarding the insane, looked past him at the raving girl inside the cell. An instant change came over her. From a cursing, blaspheming maniac, the girl became a quiet, sorrowful-looking child, and on her suddenly calm face was such a look of longing as I have seen children undergo strict diet give some particularly toothsome and forbidden dainty. Young Aglenbury suppressed a shudder with difficulty. "Poor child," he muttered. "Poor, poor little girl, to be so lovely and so hopeless." "Oui, Monsieur," de Grandin agreed moodily as we went down the stairs. "You do well to pity her, for the intelligence, the very soul of her, has been dead these many years. Only her body remains alive, and petit Dieu, what a life it is! Ah, if only some means could be found to graft the healthy intelligence animating a sick body into that so healthy body of hers, what an economy!" He lapsed into moody silence, which remained unbroken during our drive back to Red Gables. The sun had gone down in a blaze of red against the western sky, and the pale new moon was swimming easily through a tumbling surf of a bank of foaming cirrus clouds, when the deep-throated, bellying bay of a hound came echoing to us from the grounds outside the old house. "Grand Dieu!" de Grandin leaped nervously from his chair. "What is that? Do they hunt in this country while the mating season is but blossoming into flower among the wild things?" "No, they don't," Aglenbury answered testily. "Some one has let his dogs out on my land. Come on, let's chase 'em off. I won't have 'em poaching on the game here like that." We trailed out of the hall and walked quickly toward the sound of the baying, which rose fuller and fuller from the region of the lake. As we neared the dogs, the sound of human voices became audible. "That you, Mr. Aglenbury?" a man called, and the flash of an electric torch showed briefly among the new leaf thickets by the waterfront. "Yes," our host answered shortly. "Who the devil are you, and what are you doing here?" "We're from Thornwood, sir," the man answered, and we saw the gleam of his white hospital uniform under his dark topcoat. "The crazy girl, Mary Ann, got away about an hour ago, and we're trailing her with the hounds. She went completely off her head after you left this morning, and fought so they couldn't give her the hypo without strapping her. After the injection she quieted down, but when the matron went to her room with dinner she suddenly woke up, threw the woman against the wall so hard she almost cracked her ribs, and got clean away. She can't have gotten far, though, running over this broken country in her bare feet." "Oh, hell!" Aglenbury stormed, striking a bush beside the path a vicious slash with his stick. "It's bad enough to have my place overrun with gypsies and gossiped about by all the country yaps in the county, but when lunatics get to making a hang-out of it, it's too much." "Hope you find her," he flung back over his shoulder as he turned toward the house. "And for the Lord's sake, if you do get her, keep her at Thornwood. I don't want her chasing all over this place." "Monsieur," de Grandin began, but Aglenbury cut him short. "Yes, I know what you'll say," he broke in. "You want to tell me a ghost woman will protect me from the lunatics, just as she did from the gypsy, don't you?" "No, my friend," de Grandin began with surprising mildness. "I do not think you need protection from the poor mad one, but—" He broke off with his sentence half spoken as he stared intently at an object hurrying toward us across a small clearing. "Good God!" Aglenbury exclaimed. "It's she, the crazy girl!" Seemingly gone mad himself, he rushed toward the white-robed figure in the clearing, brandishing his heavy stick. "I'll handle her," he called back. "I don't care how violent she is, I'll handle her." In another moment he was halfway across the cleared space, his thick walking-stick poised for a blow which would render the maniac unconscious. Any medical student with the most elementary knowledge of insanity could have told him a lunatic is not to be cowed by violence. As though the oaken cudgel had been a wisp of straw, the maniac rushed toward him, then stopped a scant dozen feet away and held out her tapering arms. "John," she called softly, a puzzling, exotic thickness in her pronunciation. "John, Sahib, it is I." Aglenbury's face was like that of a man suddenly roused from sound slumber. Astonishment, incredulity, joy like that of a culprit reprieved as the hangman knots the noose about his neck, shone on his features. The threatening club fell with a soft thud to the turf, and he gathered the mad woman's slender body to his breast, covering her upturned face with kisses. "Amari, my Amari, Amari, my beloved," he crooned in a soft, sobbing voice. "Oh, my love, my precious, precious love, I have found you, I have found you at last." The girl laughed lightly, and in her laughter there was no hint or taint of madness. "Not Amari, Mary Ann in this life, John," she told him, "but yours, John Sahib, whether we stand beside the Ganges or the Hudson, beloved through all the ages." "Ah, got her, sir." The hospital attendants, a pair of bloodhounds tugging at the leash before them, broke through the thicket at the clearing's farther side. "That's right, sir. Hold her tight till we slip the straitjacket on her." Aglenbury thrust the girl behind him and faced the men. "You can't have her," he announced, uncompromisingly. "She's mine." "What?" the attendant stammered, then turned toward the underbrush and called to some invisible companion. "Hey, Bill, come here. There's two of 'em." "You can't have her," Aglenbury repeated as two more attendants reinforced the first pair. "She's going to stay with me, always." "Now, look here, sir," the leader of the party argued, "that girl's a dangerous lunatic. She nearly killed a matron this evening, and she's been regularly committed to Thornwood Sanitarium. We've tracked her here, and we're going to take her back." "Over the dead corpse of Jules de Grandin," the Frenchman interrupted as he pressed forward. "Parbleu! Me, I am in authority here. I shall be responsible for her conduct." The man hesitated a moment, then shrugged his shoulders. "It's your funeral if anything happens on account of this," he warned. "Tomorrow Dr. Wiltshire will start legal proceedings to get her back. You can't win." "Ha! Can I not?" The little Frenchman's teeth gleamed in the moonlight. "My friend, you do not know Jules de Grandin. There is no lunacy commission in the world to which I cannot prove her sanity. I do pronounce her cured, and the opinion of Jules de Grandin of the Sorbonne is not to be lightly sneezed upon, I do assure you." To Aglenbury he said, "Pick her up, my friend. Pick her up and bear her to the house, lest the stones bruise her tender feet. Dr. Trowbridge and I will follow and protect you." "Parbleu!" He glared defiantly about him. "Me, I say nothing shall separate you again. Lead on." "For heaven's sake, de Grandin," I besought as we followed Aglenbury and the girl toward the house, "what does this all mean?" "Morbleu!" he nodded solemnly at me. "It means we have won $10,000, friend Trowbridge. No more will the ghost of that so pitiful Hindu woman haunt this house. We have earned our fee." "Yes, but—" I pointed mutely toward our host as he strode through the moonlight with the girl in his arms. "Ah, that!" He laughed a silent, contented laugh. "That, my friend, is a demonstration that the ancient fires of love die not, no matter how much we heap them with the ashes of hate and death. The soul of Amari, the sacrificed Hindu girl, has come to rest in the body of the lunatic Mary Ann, just as the soul of John Aglenbury the elder was reborn into the body of his namesake and double, John Aglenbury the younger. Did not the deceased Indian girl promise that she would some day come back for her forbidden lover in another shape? Parbleu, but she has fulfilled her vow. Always have the other members of Aglenbury's family been unable to live in this house, because they were of the clan who had helped separate the elder lovers. Now, this young man, knowing nothing of his uncle's intimate affairs, but bearing in his veins the blood of the elder Aglenbury, and on his face the likeness of the uncle too, must have borne within his breast the soul of the disappointed man who ate out his heart in sorrow and loneliness in this house which he had builded in the American woods. The spirit of Amari, the Hindu, who has kept safe the house from alien blood and from the members of her soul-mate's family who would have robbed him of his inheritance, did find near at hand the healthy body of a lunatic, whose soul, or intelligence, if you please, had long since sped and entered thereinto to dwell on earth again. Did you not see sanity and longing looking out of her eyes when she beheld him in the madhouse this morning, my friend? Sanity! But yes, it was recognition, I tell you. Her violence? 'Twas but the clean spirit of the woman fighting for mastery of a body long untenanted by an intelligence. Were you to attempt to play a long disused musical instrument, Trowbridge, my friend, you could make but poor work of it at first, but eventually you would be able to produce harmony. So it was in this case. The spirit sought to use a long disused brain, and at first the music she could make was nothing but noise. Now, however, she has secured mastery of her instrument, and henceforth the body of Mary Ann will function as that of a healthy, sane woman. I, Jules de Grandin, will demonstrate her sanity to the world, and you, my friend, shall help me. Together we shall win. Together we shall make certain that these lovers thwarted in one life shall complete this cycle in happiness. Eh bien, he twisted the ends of his blond moustache and set his hat at a rakish angle on the side of his head. It is possible that somewhere in space there waits for me the spirit of a woman whom I have loved and lost in another life. I wonder, when she comes, if I, like the lucky young Aglinberry yonder, shall wake and remember and understand. End of section 6.